Now, I have to express my gratitude once again to President Ashraf Ghani because he's been most generous with his time. He has overshot his schedule, but he says that because he committed to it, he is open to questions from the floor. So we'll take a few questions. Let's keep a cap of 15 minutes at the outer limit. But unlike the discussions in IDSA, normally where you are allowed a short comment and then a question, I would request you to ask your question. We will take two questions at a time. One person should not ask multiple questions, and please identify yourself when you pose the question. I see one hand in front of me. Yes, I'll go back to the next.
Mr. President, my name is Venkat Narayan. I'm a journalist. 1,70,000 tons of wheat, which has been promised by India to be sent to Afghanistan, is lying here because the Pakistanis would not allow their territory to be used for India to send it to you. Same thing with medicines, and same thing with the pomegranates and the grapes and all those lovely fruit from your country coming into India. You, last Friday, you are reported to have pretend to stop the export of Pakistani goods to Central Asia if Pakistan does not allow trade between India and Afghanistan through Wagah. How serious are you about that? And what do you think would be the response of the Pakistanis to your threat? Thanks.
So we take one question from the back.
President, this is Times Now. My question is, you've spoken about the violence in Balochistan in the Northwest Frontier Province. Does Afghanistan support an independent Balochistan? And what can you say about the violence in POK by the Pakistani army?
Thank you. First issue, Afghanistan and India do not need their trade to depend on overland routes. I've just proposed formation of a cargo company. Already there are 3 flights a week between Kandahar and Delhi. Medicine does not need to be transported, tea does not need to be transported, fruit does not need to be transported overland. Why are we so concerned that a country can block 2 great nations from trading? Let's organize it and let's put the logistics in place. In whichever, the monopoly will end. I never speak lightly, particularly when it comes to regional relationships. Afghanistan is a crossroad. Afghanistan is no longer a landlocked country. Those who block us will be blocked. But our message is that cooperation is to everyone's benefit. Restrictive measures only benefit a very small, tiny elite. They traumatize. The number of people in Pakistan who've fallen below poverty line is incredible. It's running into tens of millions. This is not for benefit of Afghanistan. If they do not embrace an open system, Afghanistan is landlocked, but we think openly. Pakistan has access to the sea, but it thinks like a landlocked country. It's needed for a change. We are not engaged in support of any movements outside our frontier. We respect state norms of interaction. We do not use our territory for destabilization. If people are not happy, it's a federal system. There's a federal constitution. They need to be able to work within their constitutional system. And that's up to them. Force does not hold people together. networks of rights and obligation holds people together.
Thank you, sir. There was a question right in the front.
My name is General Sharma. I'm retired from the Indian Army. Terrorists seem to have very easy access to sophisticated armaments and to plenty of money. Could we have your views, Your Excellency, on whether this is from private sources or states are assisting terrorists, other than your own region? It's all over the world. They have the best of equipment and communication systems and guns and plenty of money to buy them. Thank you.
Yeah, good evening, President. My name is Sanjay. I work with the German Television South Asia Bureau. My question is related to India's military engagement in Afghanistan. Right now you said that India has committed $1 billion. That's a civilian part of it. Now a new development is that India is also giving more military assistance to Afghanistan, which is something new in the region. How you think that it's going to impact your relations with Pakistan or Pakistan's behavior towards you? Is it going to create more instability in the region, already destabilized region? And how you think that the bitterness between India and Pakistan affect the stability in your country?
Thank you. General Sharma, arms are a criminal enterprise. Smuggling of arms from the mid-19th century has been a very common enterprise. In 1880, when Britain invaded us, they were surprised as to how Afghans acquired guns. I traced the correspondence. They did a special study. Kuwait was then the launching pad for enormous. In the entire known industry, United States, France, Belgium, etc. were involved in producing. The best literature comes from Latin America, and the connection between cocaine and trade in arms is immensely well documented. These drug wars are enabler, and the closest I have found in the way of parallels is Colombia. The memoirs of the former president are an important lesson to see how these networks operate, but simultaneously how we deal with it. India's assistance to Afghanistan is open, transparent. Helicopters have been provided at our request, and we greatly appreciate those. India's and Afghanistan's collaboration is for stability. If we accept that terrorism is a threat and there is no one that can be denial about it, then we need systems that share common values to collaborate. And countries that feel threatened by collaboration between two peace-loving countries need to change their outlook and not blame. This is not a question of a blame game. It's a question of fundamentally thinking through the current regional and global level challenges, because it's important that we diagnose, collaborate, and reach common understanding and a common platform of action.
Madam.
Hi, I'm Christine Fair from Georgetown. I have the privilege of being at IDSA for a few weeks. It's so lovely to see you in your capacity as president. I'm going to resist the temptation to ask about Pakistan, and so instead, I want to ask you about economic transition. So in DC, there's so much focus upon the security transition and the drawdown of troops. It's absolutely silent on the drawdown of economic resources. So would you be in a position to your vision of economic transition for Afghanistan?
Thank you.
We'll take one more question.
Thank you. Gulshan Luthra, I'm a journalist with India Strategic, and I'm also associated with IDSA. I had met a Pakistani Prime Minister, former, in Morocco recently. He said most of the aid which is coming from India to Afghanistan is used
to sabotage Pakistani interests, and that there are at least seven raw stations there. I met Pakistani diplomats in Abu Dhabi. They said there are at least 30 RAW stations in Afghanistan. Now, I would like you to say how is the Indian assistance, the Indian cooperation is used there. I think it will be useful for us also to know that. Thank you, sir.
If you want to understand Pakistan, read Kristen Fair's book. It's a revisionist state. Every single one of its defeats is celebrated as a victory. Every single one of its intelligence failures is confirmation of conspiracy theories. Ask her to answer the... No, but the fundamental issue is that this is a tissue of imagination. Afghanistan has been absolutely clear. We do not permit our territory to be used against any of our neighbors. We've used force against TTP. Their top leadership has been eliminated by use of force. Could they please point out how many of the Afghani network they have tackled? How many of the Taliban leadership? Our Corps commander from Helmand went to Quetta to meet his counterpart. And our Corps commander told him, would you like me to take you to the places where the Taliban openly recruit? And his counterpart refused the tour in his own city. We behave like a responsible state even though we are under attack. Because the metal, the test of being a global citizen comes when you are under attack. We have a constructive vision. We see ourselves as a roundabout. In Pakistan, again, what is today, what was northern India, Pakistan, from 16th century to 19th century, this part of India exported more textiles to Central Asia and Russia than South India exported to Europe. Why divide? Why not connect? Because that is the history of this region. Pilgrims, traders, and of course, in the older days, conquerors have connected this region. This is a crisscrossing place of networks of very deep. We invented them. And that is what is key to the future. There are no raw stations. Destabilizing. India's relationship with Afghanistan is state to state. It is transparent, it's on budget, it's accounted for. And that's the nature of our relationship with all our key partners. We have formed partnership based on common interests, on common values, and of course on common threats. This dialogue is not come accidentally. It is a well-founded, well-considered, well-elaborated common understandings. So we are very proud of this dialogue, but equally we have a very constructive dialogue with China, with every one of our Central Asian neighbors, and also a constructive dialogue with Iran. And beyond that, with Azerbaijan, with Kazakhstan, with Kyrgyzstan, and with Russia. Afghanistan's problem is global. Because of that, it needs it took me 17 video conferences with President Obama to get persuasion on the continuation. Not once did I discuss the number of troops. I have enormous friends in Congress, in the media. Not once did I discuss whether a specific number of American troops should remain in Afghanistan or not. Why? Because a partner recognizes the prerogatives of another partner. You do not get into those issues and become a domestic issue. But you make your case, and you have to deliver. And as part of that, the first thing was security. When responsibility fell on me and my colleagues, the majority of the analysts in the region were not giving us 6 months. President Obama had publicly announced the reduction of number of troops, and one of the largest onslaughts in regional history took place against us. But the Afghan public and the Afghan armed forces, the people were not giving the benefit of the doubt, rally. I'm enormously proud to be the commander-in-chief of this valiant force. The last thing I wanted as a job was to be a war prisoner. But when war is imposed on an Afghan, he or she defends it to the last drop of his blood, and my forces are standing. Our people are standing. In the last 100 years, Dr. Fair, the Afghan security and defense forces have not had the type of public support that they do now. Yesterday, a police general, funerals took place. He was blown up by a bomb, by mines. I went to his funeral. I carried his coffin on my shoulder. The public response has been unbelievably positive. So in that regard, the partnership that we've come to is really fundamental. It has enabled us to think through, and it's in place. And now we are putting the other key blocks. But the burden of responsibility cannot be placed on the U.S. alone. We need to understand that this is a global task. And regionally, we're stakeholders. Because it started in one way, it does not mean that we need not to adjust to changing context. On the economy, the first thing I want to congratulate my colleague, the Minister of Finance of Afghanistan, Minister Hakimi. In a year where we were experiencing a great recession bordering on a depression, he increased revenue by 22%, and it's a sustainable increase. We finished, and again, thanks to India, the first dam in 40 years. In 40 years, a dam had not been completed. The Afghan-India Friendship Dam is harnessed. Already close to 570 million cubic meters of water. The total capacity is 640 million cubic meters. It will change at least the lives of 300,000 families. Made an investment a couple of months ago, $350 million. For the first time in soft drinks, we are going to become an exporter. Afghan fruit exporters from Kandahar signed a $69 million agreement with 3 supermarket chains in Delhi. This business could expand enormously. I can see, given what Tagore has done for us and what Babur has created for us in terms of, Babur used to order his fruit from Kabul with Special Express. Now we are going to have this Air Express to make the Afghan fruit available to every Indian household. So please, in addition to the $1 of public assistance, spend $5 buying Afghan fruit and we'll be fine. Regional connectivity has been established. In November, Turkmenistan's railway is going to connect. Minister Hakimi just inaugurated the reaching of the Iranian railway to Herat. Uzbek, the first trains, 11 containers from China reached directly to northern Afghanistan. We're getting out. And the key, again, let me repeat as the ambassador said, Afghanistan is extraordinarily rich. We provide the water for every one of our neighbors. And we intend to harness at least 26 billion cubic meters of water and then create a water trading system. Location. Our location is becoming valuable by the day. Mineral wealth. 33% of our mineral wealth is estimated between $1 trillion and $3 trillion. And then there's an extraordinary amount of money that is not capital. Tens of billions of dollars are floating around, but it requires market building institutions. So, and then our people. But the critical thing, Dr. Fair, is that market building has not been approached systematically. The criminal economy is globally integrated. It is credit, it is marketing, it is networks, purchasers, etc. The legal economy is underperforming. In the region, is the key. We're living in the middle of a 4 billion people market. And it's an extraordinary neglect not to harness this global purchasing. The sympathy for Afghanistan has to be harnessed in terms of markets for Afghan women, training for Afghan youth, networking with Afghan entrepreneurs, because the resilience that is there needs to be sustained. In sustaining that resilience means that we, being at the front line, can continue with the determination in a sense of belief that is born from our long history not to be subdued to overcome this phenomenon.
Thank you, Mr. President, for your extraordinary generosity. I have got a note from the Deputy Chief of Protocol that we had to wind up at 6:30. One thing, Mr. President, you don't have to worry about is the branding value of Afghanistan, especially in India. Whether it is Kagazi Badam or whether it is Kandahari Anar, there is a ready market available in India for both of these products. And I'll tell you something which holds true also of Scotch whiskey, but
Unfortunately, we don't produce that.
but I'll tell you, Mr. President, there is 100 times more Kandahari Anar sold in the markets in India than is the produce in Afghanistan.
I know that. You know, that's why I want Shah Rukh Khan and the other Khans to advertise for the genuine Kandahari Anar.
and that brings me, Mr. President, to another very special aspect of the India-Afghan relationship, which is a people-to-people based relationship. And when I returned after my 2.5 years home, my wife told me that, you know, for all that your exertions, you have been a failure in Afghanistan. And I said, why do you say that? She said, 2.5 years was a long time. How is it that you didn't get an Indian filmmaker to produce a film in Afghanistan? And this is, I'm sure, something which would be remedied. But thank you, Mr. President, for a productive exchange, a candid exchange. I'd like to express my gratitude to you for taking the time to address not only an important issue on the international agenda, but for talking to us so frankly, and for the investment you and your colleagues have made in nurturing and promoting a closer Afghanistan-India relationship. It's been a real pleasure to have all of you in our midst. Thank you so much for coming to IDSA, and thank you all, the distinguished audience that is here to. You have been such a big draw. We have people who have come from far and wide. I hope our guests will spend some more time with us over tea and samosa. Namaste and good evening.
Good evening.